All right, so the next thing is going to be actually improving on Windows. Okay, it's going to go through a few steps and everything like that. Okay, and this is basically, again, where you can do some preventative stuff and everything like that. So step one is going to be to perform routine maintenance. Okay, and then this is just a short little list of what you can do. Okay, look at Windows updates, clean up, defrag, and check your hard drive, uninstall any software you don't use, backup data, that kind of stuff. One of the things about uninstalling software is you'll find a lot of users when you go through and look at their application list, they will probably have anywhere from 2, 3, 4 to probably about 16 or 17 toolbars. Okay, with today's browsers, toolbars are not needed by any means. So generally what these toolbars do is when they attach to that browser, they also bring with it spyware and adware and stuff like that, and they also collect personal data. So you want to get those toolbars off of there. And I have seen people that have close to 30 toolbars loaded because they don't realize when they download software, there's that little bitty checkbox down at the bottom that says also install such and such toolbar. Okay, and the next thing you know, when you open up their web browser, they have 8 or 9 toolbars at the top, and their window is a whole lot smaller. Okay, so always go through and clean up and delete and uninstall all those toolbars. Step 2, clean your Windows startup. And we went through this earlier in this chapter through MS Config, or system configuration. Okay, we want to go through and eliminate any unneeded application from starting up because one, that's going to save on startup time because you're not having to load as much, and two, it's saving on RAM and CPU performance because your computer's not having to keep up with that application running at the same time. Okay, and when you're looking at those, if you're unsure on which applications you need to run, which ones you don't, if you look through the command and all that kind of stuff and you're still not sure, just go out and Google it. Type in the actual startup file name and then ask if it's necessary, and that way you'll know what exactly it is, because you don't want to turn it off if you're not sure what it is, because you may be eliminating something like your chipset software or something like that, which is actually going to increase performance. So you got to be kind of careful. Okay, check and see if there's any scheduled tasks that you don't need. Okay, generally speaking, you're going to set most of these up. The system does set up some, but you're going to set up most of these, so you'll usually know what is being started up through those scheduled tasks. But if you see something that you don't need under a task scheduler, go through and uninstall it or turn it off. Okay, and then you can monitor the startup process as well using certain third-party software and everything like that. Okay, a lot of antivirus programs are loaded at the beginning. That was one that I highly recommend leaving on, because not only do they monitor startup processes, but they also monitor your BIOS and everything like that to make sure that stuff isn't written into your MBR or your GPT. Okay, step 3, you want to check if the hardware can support the OS. If you've got certain things that aren't performing like they should, then you use stuff like the performance monitor and everything like that to see if there's certain areas that are creating a bottleneck. And what a bottleneck is basically where everything is being crammed in one specific location. So let's say you have this top-notch processor, you have amazing hard drive and everything like that, but you only have a gig of RAM. Obviously, the RAM is going to be our bottleneck. That's where all the performance is being held back. Okay, so the performance monitor and the reliability monitor, which is another tool, will actually show you what can be improved upon to increase your performance. Okay, step 4 is check for a history of problems, and then this is where the Action Center can come in handy. Okay, remember, the Action Center is going to display errors, warnings, and all that kind of stuff. So this will actually, show you, okay, this has been a warning for the last 6 months. Now it's turned into an issue. Okay, so this is a great way to kind of flush out certain areas. And then you have the reliability monitor. Reliability monitor is basically a great way to go back and look at what has been happening to your computer over a set amount of time. Okay, so this is what the reliability monitor looks like. You can get to this under the control panel, under reliability monitor. You can also get to it under the action center. It'll be you can click on the reliability down at the bottom. Okay, but you can see here, anytime that this little graph spikes down to the bottom, that means that your system went down at some point. Okay, but it also shows in here informational pieces right here with the blue. Yellows are going to be warnings, reds are going to be critical. And it'll display up here, like right here, Windows was not properly shut down on the 20th. Okay, so that's right here. Something happened to cause it to shut down. And this will allow you to go through and kind of see what's happening, what's going on, so that you know how to troubleshoot the problem more efficiently. Then step 5 is consider ReadyBoost. ReadyBoost is one of those things that was introduced in Windows 7. Basically, it allows you to use a flash drive as additional RAM. You can also use an SD card or memory card, or camera card. But this basically adds a little bit to your RAM, and it also adds to your virtual memory as well. Okay, the downside here is it's still not going to be as fast as your RAM, and this all boils down to the hardware aspect of it. Okay, and you know, just real quick, kind of going back, if you haven't had hardware yet, this is another aspect of your hardware. Okay, so your hardware is generally broken up into your chipset. I mean, broken up into two different hubs. You got your north hub here and your south hub. Okay, in between those is going to be a link right here. So your north hub is going to have the information or the components that are generally going to have to perform a whole lot faster. So that would be like your PCI Express video card over here, your RAM right here, and your CPU. Okay, so the stuff that has to act and communicate extremely fast. Down here is going to be everything else. So you're going to have stuff like your hard drive, your USB drives, your other PCI slots. You know, that kind of stuff is all going to be down here, and it's generally going to perform a lot slower. So as with virtual memory and the ReadyBoost, they're pulling from this south bridge down here. So even though they are adding to our performance, they're still having to get through this slower bus speed here to get the information up here. So we're still losing the performance that we would have if we were just using standard RAM. But it's a good kind of quick pitch, or dire need type of fix real quick. So and then the last part of this section that you can do is you can go in to improve performance and disable your Aero interface. Your Aero interface does use some of your RAM, and obviously uses a lot of video and everything like that. So by disabling it, you will increase a little bit of performance. But let's face it, if you're getting to this aspect of troubleshooting, then really your computer may not be up to speed or up to snuff on what you need it to do. So you may be looking at having to upgrade either your computer or specific components as well. But if you do need to disable the Aero interface, it's pretty simple. You right click on the desktop, select personalize, scroll down to the bottom, and then you're going to click Windows 7 Basic, which is going to then remove Aero interface and take you to a standard desktop interface. Okay, so which will lose some functionality as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's going to be it for this section. And then the last little section will be real short, dealing with removing software manually.